Good morning, Softball America. Hello, everybody. How are you? It is Wednesday, August the 6th, just after 10 a.m. Central Time, just after 11 a.m. on the East Coast, and just after, 8 a.m. out in California. Gray Robertson, Tara Henry. Hi, Tara. Which time zone are you in right now?
I'm on the East Coast, so it's still the morning, 11 o'clock here, but yes, ready and raring to go and excited to talk some softball and really some big news this week. I know we're going to have a special guest. I don't know if we even promoted it. Did we even tell you guys?
Not really.
Oh, we didn't even tell you that we're going to have a guest today?
It's kind of in the title of the episode, so fill in, your thoughts. You know what? Send us guesses. We'll tell y'all in 5 minutes.
Ooh,
if you're watching now, send guesses in the chat for who you think today's guest is, because Tara, the people can enter the chat on YouTube and do a lot of things on that wonderful website where you watch a lot of videos.
Yeah, if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to Softball America. We appreciate your support. Even if you're over on X, good morning, Nicholas. If you're over on X, head on over to YouTube. And again, subscribe over there, and then let us know who you think's going to be the guest today. It's a surprise, but not really. I figure you guys can figure out within the next 30 seconds who our guest is today.
I think Fang will win. I think Fang will do this. I think Fang can accomplish the challenge that we have issued, which is guess the guest. He or she will be here in about 26 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about some other things in the meantime, including episode 2 of the Rule Book Club. Folks, please download the PDF or get out your physical rule book if you have it, because we'll be talking about the very end of page 102 and the very beginning of page 103, Tara's favorite rule, the out-of-the-box rule.
I can't wait. Can't wait to go over this rule with everybody and talk about this rule and those that are proposing this new rule change to the out-of-the-box rule.
Yeah, because it's changing again.
It is.
Potentially, if the vote goes through, which I feel like it does every time. Oh, hey, we got a super chat up in here.
Thank you, James. Oh, that was actually this morning. I had this is an Americano, and the is it reduced turkey bacon sandwich from Starbucks.
Ooh.
That was my order this morning.
Yeah.
It's an Americano with 2 pumps of vanilla syrup.
Very nice. By the way, Fang got it. Sort of. New cow coach. His name is Steve Singleton, and he will be here.
Like he's doing it on purpose just because he's from Texas. Yes, Steve Singleton in the house. He will be with us in just a short amount of time.
Yeah, and kind of wild, right? Because I think he was also our last guest.
Yes.
In the finale. So. I think, was he the last one who came on? I think he was.
Yes, after winning the title.
Yeah, and now here we are a couple months later, and he's going to be talking about a different school.
I know. I can't wait to ask him some questions. Wow, what a turn of events. And so close to the beginning of season.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk to Sing in about 4 minutes, but let's before we dive into the rule book and start there, let's react to this news, because this whole Cal coaching search thing is kind of, I feel like, been a little bit off the periphery of the softball news just because I felt like the timeline was so weird. Chelsea Spencer stepped down kind of in a later portion than you normally see. And then I frankly kind of forgot about the search as we were covering all these other stories. And then Cal comes up and makes moves. And it's good to see that administration kind of really solidify their belief in softball with the new facility that's coming in, then also making a hire of a guy who's been mentioned for a lot of other jobs often the last few years.
Yeah, I think it's a huge statement by Cal softball. What a get to go out and get Steve Singleton. Again, like you said, Gray, we've been hearing whispers about Sing going to various other programs, and for Cal to really, honestly, Gray, put their money where their mouth is, right? And really bring in a coach that is a proven winner. Now, he will be in the head coaching position, which is different than being an assistant. So there's going to be some growing pains there. But again, for Cal to go out and get Steve Singleton, I think it says a lot about that administration. I think it says a lot about where they're going in terms of women's softball and women's sports. And like you said, the new stadium, it looks beautiful, and we'll be breaking ground. We'll ask Coach Singh what the update is on the stadium and when that will be actually completed. But I think this is good news for West Coast softball. And I know I remember a time and a day when Cal was at the top, and we talked about Coach Chelsea Spencer. She was on that national championship winning team, and Cal has the ability to recruit West Coast talent, has the ability to stay in state with California, rich in talent. And I think, Coach Singh, he's from the Bay Area. We'll talk to him a little bit about that, but this is a really good hire for Cal, and has some potential. That ACC I'm telling you, Gray, it could be wide open in a few years once he's able to get in there, do some recruiting, developing. We know he's an incredible developer and knows how to recruit talent too. So hats off to Cal. I think, like I said, this is a big statement for the Bears.
I think we got a Bears fan up in the chat. D Jackson, go Bears. I think, I agree with everything you said. I do worry a little bit about the beginning because Cal lost a lot of people. I mean, a lot of kids went in the portal. So Coach Singleton is going to need a minute, I think, to get his people in there to really kind of solidify, to settle things. Now, down the road, I think this is really going to work out. But with the ACC getting a lot better, I worry a little bit about the immediate, maybe year one and even year two. But I think long-term, this is an excellent hire. And we'll even talk about the Texas perspective in just a moment, because all of a sudden Mike White has to hire an assistant now. But I think for the Singleton family, I think for Cal, I think it's about as close to a win as you can have before we have any on-field evidence, and it just feels like a natural fit and a good choice by him, because he clearly was waiting for this kind of job. Because as we talked about, he was mentioned for a lot of things in the Texas area, a lot of jobs, around the South, and this was the one he said yes to. And that is, I think, a very pointed statement made by him. And I think he obviously, we'll talk to him a little bit about it, but it's clear that he believed that this was the job for him.
Yeah.
And now we'll see what he can do with it.
And he's familiar with the Bay Area, and I think that's really important. And like I said, the ability to recruit and keep talent within the state of California, it's another one of those hotbeds. I think Texas, you saw that in Texas, the Texas-Oklahoma programs really start putting a fence around their states and their athletes. And I think he'll have that ability to do that in California. But you're right, Gray, the first year I think is going to be tough, but I'm not as concerned with the second and third year. I had this conversation with Brady, and we're going back and forth about it. I think with the transfer portal and ability to bring in recruits, I'm not as worried about that second year. It's just the academic piece and being able to get kids into that school. So I'm excited for Cal softball and to see what happens up there with him at the helm.
Let's talk a little bit about Texas for just a moment before we go into the rule book, because I'm sure Mike White had some warning. Coach Singleton probably was talking to him as this was going down. But now Texas has to get another assistant coach who can kind of fill that role of all-encompassing guy who did a lot. I mean, Steve Singleton, shoot, I remember the first time I met him at the SEC tournament, just hearing the myriad of things that he was thinking about during some of those games. That's a big void that Mike White is going to have to fill. Now, I'll also say this. Lots of coaches throughout the history of sports have won national championships and then had to replace assistants. So this is probably something that Mike White has been preparing for, right? You know, in case that moment does come, who do you call? And it'll be interesting to see which names are brought to the top of that list.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at hitting coaches, offensive coaches across the country. Like, who does he go to? I mean, he's not going to go to JT Gasso, right? Like, he's not going to go to
Probably not.
But he could go to the brother. He could go to DJ. You never know there. I mean, that's a possibility when you take a look at an offense in Arkansas's offense. But again, you've got to look across the country. It could be an Amber Freeman. I think she's an up-and-coming star, an incredible hitting mind. It could be an Amber Freeman, but it's going to be interesting to see what that hire is for Mike White.
Yeah, and it feels like nobody's off the table, more or less, except for maybe JT. That would be a shock. But kind of feels like, and it also feels like one of those jobs that thanks, Nick. That one of those jobs where maybe they could even go and get a sitting head coach somewhere. I mean, you know, you could go and get a mid-major head coach, or maybe even someone at a Power 4 who maybe hasn't gotten off to the start that he or she wanted. I just feel like all options are kind of on the table for Mike White here.
Absolutely. I think that's it. And it's interesting. You win a national championship, you should have your pick of the who's who in across the country. So for me, it's going to be interesting to see what and who fills that role, because it's going to be a big role to fill. I know Coach Singh was a huge part of that program and really ran that offense. So it's going to be somebody that has to come in and take the reins and really fit in there. I like that idea, Fang. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that was kind of where I was. I mean, I don't think they're about to go get Craig Snyder. I think he's happy at Tennessee, but it's something like that. No names immediately come to mind, but we'll see. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure Mike White is running through the Rolodex right now.
Yeah, I think he probably is. And again, for me, I'm just like kind of curious, like, who's it going to be?
Because it could also, spark a reset of the carousel. Like this is all happening a little bit late in the process. All of a sudden, we could be looking around like, all right, so now this team over here has to fill a major void, or maybe this team has to get a new head coach, or I don't know. It's a big wheel.
It could be an out of the box hire too. I know this is an out of the box podcast. This this is one. It could be somebody that we wouldn't maybe know. I don't know.
I love it. Anything else on this before we go into the rule book?
No, I can't wait to talk to Singh once he gets on here. So I hope you guys are ready. He was a great interview after winning that national championship, and I can't wait to have him on here to talk about the Cal Bears.
I can't wait to ask about his family, because I'm sure those kids are about to rock some Cal gear. But anyway, we'll get to that when Steve Singleton joins the show. For now, it is time to get out our PDFs or physical rule books and talk about 11.15, page 102, 103 in the rule book.
This is scroll to this.
Oh, go for it. This is the illegally batted ball. This is the out of the box rule. Now we're going to read the language in depth, but I just wanted to ask this question because Tara, she's
what page again?
102.
Okay.
I want to ask Tara about her relationship to the out of the box rule, because it is not your.
My eyes. I don't think I've ever rolled my eyes on this podcast.
Well, I'm sure I've said something in the past, but it's not a rule that you really had to deal with, when you were playing, and now as a coach / media personality / commenter on all things softball, it's something you've had to kind of come to terms with over the last, I guess, decade.
Yeah. Well, it for me, I mean, we'll go through the exact rule, and I know there's been some coaches on social media, and there's people that talk about, oh, you can't keep your foot in the box. It's already hard enough to run at the ball and hit it, especially when you're facing like a Carlin Pickens that's throwing 74. If you're worried about a toe or a 4 foot out of the box. I just think that's obviously this is a bias. Like I know I have a bias here, so I'm just gonna put that out there. This is a complete bias because obviously I was a slapper triple threat, and I just for now this enforcement because they can't. We'll get into the actual rule. I want to go through it and we'll talk about the language, but a toe out of the box and you're going to get called out is just out of control to me, especially when sometimes you can't even tell where the box is because by mid-end game, there's no lines.
Yeah.
So
I will.
That's a bias, though. Let's talk about it objectively. I will talk about it objectively.
Well, real quick, because look, people here know I am one of the 2 hosts of a podcast called Out of the Box, and we named it that for a reason. It was because the rule change, the first like kind of shift in all this really happened in 2018, which was me and Tom's second year together in the radio booth, and that was when if you were even a smidgen out of the box, boom, out. And like game 1, Rachel Bobo had an RBI single up the middle against South Alabama, and it was wiped off because she was just a little, just a smidgen, just maybe a half a toe out of the box.
A toe.
And
out of the box.
We thought it was crazy. And so we went on this rampage for years about how, you're not really gaining an advantage when you've got half a pinky toe out of the box. And since then, they have done some things to shift around the rule. But it was always a rule that fascinated me because as somebody at the time who was new to the sport, I was like, all right, this, and now we're calling it all the time. And then we watched it morph as that year went on to kind of not being called all the time. And then they changed it and it was called a lot and now it's kind of not. So it's always been a rule that's fascinated me and we can get into it right now.
Yes. I can't wait.
11.15.1. An illegally batted ball occurs when the batter contacts the pitch and, here's what it says, any part of their body is touching home plate or the ground outside the lines of the batter's box. Effect. This is, again, the rule book. What a time. Oh, by the way, real quick, note, in cases in which there are no batter's box lines evident, good judgment must be used. And the benefit of any doubt must go to the batter. Okay, so before we get to the effect, 2 things here. 1, benefit of the doubt must go to the batter. Oh, here come the balloons. So that means that when in doubt, the umpire is going to rule not out of the box. So if you've been out there frustrated, like, my gosh, the lines are gone, but look at where her foot is. Well, if the umpires, if the umpires aren't sure, they're rolling with
must
the belief
go
that the batter
to the
was
batter
in the box.
Right?
Yes.
Please read that sentence again.
The benefit of any doubt must.
The key word is must. Not
any hesitation.
Shall, can, may. It's not that. It's must.
Yes.
Go to the batter.
Now, good judgment must be used is a fascinating thing to put in a rule book. That is a baffling sentence in a book of rules. I'm just going to be honest, because that's good judgment is different for everybody, right? I mean, okay.
These rules episodes are fantastic.
I'm shocked that there's something about good judgment. Okay. I mean, that's not a rule. That's a suggestion. Okay. The effect. Delayed dead ball is signaled. The coach of the defensive team shall choose either the result of the play or the standard effect for illegal contact, which is a strike on the batter, and all base runners must return to the base legally occupied at the time of the pitch. If it is the 3rd strike, the batter is out. So you got a 1-1 pitch. She's out of the box.
Strike.
It's a strike. If it's a 1-2 pitch, she's out of the box.
Go back. Right?
She out. Yeah. And then you've always got the interesting scenario of, well, she was called out of the box, but she grounded out to first base. The coach, 99% of the time, 99.9% of the time, will take the out. Or sometimes if you have a hit and you're called for out of the box, well, that stinks. Back to the box, it's a strike.
Yep. I think that's pretty fair.
I think this is the closest that I've agreed with.
Yes. From what it used to be, which you had any part of your foot was on the line, it was fine. Any
Yeah.
part. Any part of your foot. You just had to have one part of your foot on the line and you were good.
Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts on the way it's written before we get to the rule change?
I just think that there's some interesting language in there, and that any doubt must go to the batter. And to me, when there is most of the time when you see lines, if it's on a dirt field, the chalk's gone. And so you can come in there and argue, is like, how can you make that call if there's no chalk line? And if you are using good judgment, then it must go to the batter. Like, how are you going to find, like, how do you know where that foot is? How are you supposed to call a strike and look at somebody's foot at the same time?
Here's Fang. Can batters literally stand with their heels on the line and be okay? Yes.
Can't be out of the box. Any part of their foot can't be out of the box. Be on the line.
Well, but let's get to the rule change.
Yes.
Because this is where things kind of get a little...
My whole thing is I see right-handers, even lefties, way in the back of the box on the edge of the back line, and they're towing that back line, and those batters aren't called.
That was something we did a pod about the out of the box rule a couple years ago on Out of the Box, where we talked to Madison Shipman and Caleb Bro about the rule. And that was Bro's, this is back in 22, that was Bro's biggest sticking point, where she'd be calling games and see these righty hitters. You know, shout out to, I think she was a lefty, but Pal Egan at Florida got called for out of the box swinging away in a regional, and probably should have been called for out of the box in the walk-off against LMU, I believe is who it was, in 23. So that's something that perhaps should have been looked at in the past, but now it's not, potentially, if this new rule gets passed.
Yes, please give us the new language.
Here's what it says. The NCAA Softball Rules Committee proposed that if a hitter has 1 foot completely out of the batter's box, completely out, that means you are, if the line is here, you are here. You're not even grazing the chalk, or stepping on the plate while contacting a pitch, an immediate dead ball will be called. In this scenario, the batter would be ruled out, and all runners would return to the base that they were occupying at the time of the pitch.
Immediate out. I mean, I think it should still be a strike, personally.
Even for entire foot?
Yeah, I do. Because think about when a batter is in the pitching lane and their arms or hands are on the plate, right? And they get hit. Is that a strike or an out?
I guess it's an out.
When you get hit by pitch.
Oh, that's a strike.
If you get hit by a pitch.
Sorry, I was reading the chat. Say that again.
So if you're a batter and any part of your body is in the strike zone, you get hit by a pitch. I'm cracking up at Nick. Nick Torina said he's potentially going to get hired by Texas as the hitting coach because of his long success with the mud bugs.
Well, he'll bring good snacks. I can confirm that.
So there you go, Fang. If a batter gets hit.
Wait, can you rephrase everything that you said? Because I was looking at the chat when you said that.
A batter is hitting, and the pitch comes in, and they are hit by the pitch, but the umpire rules that their hands or their body is in the strike zone. What is it?
It's a strike, is it not? Yeah.
So that's my argument. So let's say your foot is in the strike zone. How's that different? I guess maybe because it's your foot and not your arm or your leg or your knee or your elbow.
I hear that argument.
Yeah, you don't have to agree. I'm just saying that's what I
don't know. The interesting piece in all this is it seems that they're making this change for this capability. This is not something we talked about this week. Last week. I kind of saved it. Is the new out of the box rule reviewable, or is it judgment of the umpires? It does say video review challenges can also be made to see whether a batter illegally hit a pitch with a foot outside the batter's box. However, if an umpire makes the call on the field that a batter had a foot outside the batter's box at the time of contact, it could not be reviewed. So we're talking about a scenario where if a coach sees it and it's not called, that can be challenged, but not a coach saying, well, if it was ruled that, then let's challenge and change it. Does that make sense?
Yes. I mean, I honestly I have a bias for this, so I don't feel like I can speak to this rule without it. But if objectively looking at it, if that's how the rule is written, it makes it easier for the umpire just to call the out, right? Like they're just going to say foot's completely out of the box, you're out, and it's going to keep hitters or slappers from really training to have a diagonal angle that goes towards the plate, right? So I understand why people would want this rule if you're completely out of the box. I get that, but I think it should still be a strike personally.
I agree.
I think it should be a strike. I think as the way the rule is written, like, okay, it's a strike. They get a strike against them. And if it's the third strike, it should be an out. Like, I don't know. I think it's actually not a bad rule now. I think it's that we've gotten to the point where it was out of control because any part of your foot could be out of the box. And then now it's not where you can have a portion of it. I think the rule right now, as it reads, is actually pretty good, personally.
I like I said earlier, I think it's the closest to being right, I feel, to where it doesn't necessarily try to persuade slapping out of the game, but at the same time, there is a little bit of a penalty. Now, I think this is an interesting comment from Fang. Can a home run be reviewed for out of the box? Hypothetically, yes. If they don't call out of the box and a coach looks and sees and says, I think she had her entire foot out of the batter's box, then based on the language here, if it's passed,
Can you read that language again?
Sure. Video review challenges could also, again, this is could, so this all has to get passed once the rules committee meets very soon, actually, 14th. On August
13th?
The 13th, a week from today.
Yeah.
Video review challenges could also be made to see whether a batter illegally hit a pitch with a foot outside the batter's box. However, if an umpire makes the call on the field that a batter had a foot outside the batter's box at the time of contact, it could not be reviewed, and all runners would remain at the base they were occupying.
So you can challenge if a foot was out of the box on a home run.
Yes, but if it wasn't
called.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. So Fang did ask me to repeat it as well. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, it's interesting. And that was a piece of the review process we did not bring up last week, partially because I was holding it. We also
sneaky. You're so sneaky.
Well, there's obstruction language too that we'll get to. Sure. I guess that would be a good time for it since they're voting on all this a week from today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is Fang correct. Live call cannot be challenged. Missed call can be challenged. I think my biggest issue though is I do wonder about the way that this is all going to be enforced. Because again, like, why is it that out of the box as the season goes on gets called a lot more infrequently? It's because the umpires already have so much to do that they're not necessarily looking at it. And you're also dealing with a scenario like we talked about earlier where the box is just gone by the third inning with the way the game is now. And if not earlier, and it's so hard to enforce. The reason that they've changed it to this is so it can be quote unquote easier to enforce. And maybe that's true, but also are there really that many scenarios where someone's foot is entirely out of the batter's box? I
don't think so. And I actually think the umpires, when a batter is completely out of the box, I think they get it right more often than not.
Agreed.
To be honest. So that's why I don't know why there's such a focus on that part of the rule, because I think in general, and maybe we can get some umpires on here to talk about it that see what their the percentage get it right or wrong, because there's reports on the umpires get reports for each game, and so I think that would be interesting to take a look at, is why there's such a focus on this rule, and do the umpires want it or not? Because also, Gray, what people have to realize, some of these rules that are enacted, the umpires actually are like, "Are you kidding me?" Like,
That's true.
it makes their job more difficult.
As far as I know, there are no umpires on the rules committee. It's coaches.
Maybe that's probably something that maybe they should have an honorary umpire on there.
I
mean, there is an umpire that's a part of that goes through it. I think Vicky Van Kleck goes through it.
I mean, yes, but she is, or at least was, a non-voting member, so she can, the secretary rules editor can have discussions, but she can't vote on anything. That's up to the coaches.
Yeah.
And also kind of a bummer that this is changing to now where, like, having a toe out of the box is now fine. Apparently, we lost like 6 years of slapping in the sport.
Yeah, I know. Don't even talk to me about it. It's just gone away because of this rule. And I just think it's really one of the aspects of softball that's really exciting and makes it fun to watch. And it's fast paced. There's a lot of speed, a lot of runners. Again, I like that side of the game because I think it's exciting, and it's very different than per se baseball. So, and my other issue is you're going to make this rule change now, and all these kids that have been training for 8, 9, 10 years a certain way are getting impacted. That was my problem with it in the first place. If you're going to do these rules changes, these massive rules changes that actually goes after a kid's mechanics, footwork, and all that, it needs to be done when they're younger, and needs to be done at the lower levels so that when you get to college, it's not any different. That's me on my soapbox.
That's fair, because you're exactly right. In 18, all these slappers were suddenly having to adjust to the harsh penalty.
Same thing with the crow hopping and being called for illegal pitching. I thought the same thing with that. This is not just having to do with slappers. I mean, you've been allowed to leap in the international game for quite some time, and it wasn't ever an issue. So I had the same thoughts on, when an illegal pitch was called, why it was called, and why all of a sudden in regionals and super regionals are players being called for illegal pitches when they haven't been called all year long.
Yeah. So
again, it's that consistency factor. I think Feng may have said it in the beginning. It's not a bad rule. It's just the way that it's enforced is not great.
All right, I'm going to put up Mark's comment and let you say something, Tara. Couldn't disagree more. Being out of the box gives you extra reach and plate coverage. Train to stay in the box, and if you can't do it, don't be a slapper. Slipper, excuse me.
That's fine. We can agree to disagree, Mark. I think you're getting, an extra 4 foot of plate coverage. You can just put your toes on the line as a hitter that stands and probably get the same amount. You're just not moving into the ball. So that's fine. We can agree to disagree. I think that's what players are training to do. So it's not like they're not staying in the box. This is a complete foot out of the box being called an out. I just think it should be called a strike.
Yeah, and I think my biggest issue remains just the whiplash of the rule. Just like over the last 7 years, how much it's changed, what's allowed, what isn't. I think that the penalty. I think that this is closer to be like what I would want in this rule. Like I think it's okay if you have a toe out of the box. I think that's fine. You're not actually gaining an advantage as a hitter if you're like. A toe is what? A little millimeter of extra reach? I mean, come on. Like, that's nothing. Now, I do think that the auto out perhaps is a little harsh, but at the same time, like, I kind of am okay with it if your entire foot is out of the box, because that's a little much. And honestly, like we said earlier, that's something that the umpires will see. All right, let's see what Mark's got, which is why it is called the second base ump. And then enough money in the game now, they should be able to have full set of umps at all games.
Agree.
I don't know if they have enough umps to make that happen. That's the problem.
They're training. I think there is enough umpires. Again, I agree. I think the home plate umpire has a ton to do. I think it's really difficult, and I think having it called by another set of eyes is the right way to go. I also can't wait for us to go over the strike zone. I don't know if anybody is in their rule book right now.
The strike zone.
I can't wait to go over this strike zone. Somebody was talking about the strike zone. I don't know the score, Grant, of exhibition. Florida State is in London right now. They're playing the London Mets.
I was gonna give you a chance to talk about this. Hi, my burner. It's Grant Gray.
I know. So Florida State is out in London. They're playing the Mets out there, and I saw Jazzy Frantic throw her first pitch in London over there with the Florida State Seminoles. I know Lonnie Alameda and the rest of the staff. They've been having a great time in London, but really, really cool to see them growing the game. I love that they're in London, and it just makes my heart warm to see not only our game grow here, but for it to grow on a global scale. And so to put all those things together, it's like literally all my favorite things. And I can't thank Lonnie Alameda enough and Florida State for going over there and really helping out the local community and the local baseball and softball players. I know there's a huge crowd there for the London Mets game against Florida State, and it just makes my heart warm. And I hope more programs are able to go when they do their tournaments or games or travel. I believe USF is in Puerto Rico as well. I think the Bulls are playing the Puerto Rican national team. And that is another program that's going abroad. And I just encourage those coaches that when you do go abroad to try and find some local teams and local softball players, because it does matter. And for them to be able to see somebody and believe that they can be maybe the next Jazzy Frantic one day, I just, that's so cool to me. But I don't know the score. I've got to take a look and probably get it for you.
I would like to now address one of Mark's questions / comments. Lines should be redrawn every other inning. No, because look, Mark, I'm sure you have attended softball games. I don't know if you get there as early as we media people do, which is about 2 hours before the game starts. And that's when the line drawing occurs normally 2.5 hours before. It's a long process. And if we redraw it every other inning, we're stalling the game. Like, there's no way that it can be done in the 90 seconds to 120 seconds that we have during TV commercials. Our commercials on SEC Network Plus are 90 seconds. It's not getting done on there. And number two, if we did try and rush, then you know what? That's when you get the drunk lines. So that, like, we don't want that. I saw some of those this summer. There were lines that were like, where is that curve going? That's not what we want, because then things get really all out of whack. So that's impossible. Lines can't be redrawn every other inning. They can't.
Or you could just play on a turf field.
Well, but that's a whole other kit and caboodle, Tara.
I'm just saying, I played on turf fields in Spain. There's some turf fields that you could play in. Then the lines don't really go anywhere. They're right there.
Wow, I just randomly turned to the lines page of the rule book.
No way. What page are you?
16.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with. I think
here it is.
Potentially, go ahead.
Here it is. 2.20.2. Lines shall be redrawn at the discretion of the umpire. Every attempt should be made to avoid significantly delaying the game. However, if the lines can be redrawn between innings, the umpire may direct the grounds crew to do so. The problem is significantly delaying the game. That's the issue.
Strike zone.
Oh, you're still looking at this.
I can't wait for the strike zone next week. I know I'm like ADD right now, but yes, no, you can call for it to be redrawn. So I like this, you guys. I like it.
You can. I just don't think there's time for it.
Sometimes there's not, but hey, if it matters, it matters. Like, sometimes there's a lot of time between innings. In international, it's 1 minute.
Yeah, there's no way. In 1 minute, there's no way. But you're on turf a lot, so.
You guys are funny today. Look at Xavier's comment.
I'm just thinking about, like, Oh, that is good.
That's so good.
Xavier, how about we redraw them whenever we review if UCLA touched home plate after a home run? That'll give you plenty of time. That's fair.
Yes. What if you could redraw them during a video review?
Aren't we trying to make those quicker?
Will this be realistic? They're so long.
I'll answer this question. How long would just redrawing the box take? It takes about 3 to 4 minutes.
4 minutes. I think it's like 4 minutes.
I think, yeah. Because they gotta go get the equipment. They gotta put the box down. They gotta make sure that the lines are straight. They gotta get the lines out. And also no, because everyone's broke because of NIL. So that's unfortunate. That moment is past. Yeah, I think 4 to 5 minutes thereabouts. All right. While we wait on Coach Singleton, if anyone else has any other questions, please send them in about anything. Because next week, I'm gonna tease it now, and we're gonna get guests. I'm gonna like force Jen to show up. Next week will be obstruction.
Trying to get Sing on here.
Next week will be the obstruction rulebook episode.
I thought we were doing strike zone.
We'll do strike zone after.
Okay, obstruction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next week, obstruction, since that is a mention on the rules change. And then the week after, we'll talk about what actually happened in the vote and then dive into strike zone, which will never be mentioned in the rules change year list because as written, it makes sense. But it's not necessarily what's called.
Any other questions? Will we get Sing on here?
Fang says get Kinsey Hansen on the show.
Ooh.
All right, Xavier, is there ever a time that it's too late for a coach to move on from one team to another? No. Any coach can do anything or go anywhere with really no actual hang-ups time-wise. Or at least I say nothing that makes it to where they can't. That being said, the time at which you take a job could make that job more difficult. Like if you just took a job in January, you have an opportunity to not really do much in terms of roster building. So no, there's no official time, but a lot of coaches do kind of adhere. Oh, great. Another confetti balloon situation. A lot of coaches do kind of adhere to an unofficial timeline just because it makes, I guess, operating a team easier. Does that make sense?
Yes. Sorry, I'm trying to get him. Sing's camera's not working. I mean, we could just have Sing on tomorrow, maybe. Come on.
Is he on the phone or is it computer?
He's on his phone.
Ah.
He's having some issues here. It's all right. We're going to try and get him on here.
We can tap dance for a minute.
You know that I actually can tap dance?
I think we're going to have to see proof, Tara.
I'm not going to do it right now.
Oh, really?
Maybe this is a challenge. Maybe this will be a challenge for our next podcast for super chats.
Yeah. Okay, if we get enough super chats in the obstruction episode, Tara will literally tap dance.
Yeah, I will. I know you don't believe me, but I can.
I do believe you. Okay. I just can't believe that you just said that.
2027 rankings. Yes, Bang. We are cooking on those 2027 recruiting rankings. Was out all across the country this summer with our team. So those will be dropping shortly. I just put a post up on X to get some chat about it. So if you've got any 2027s that we need to take a look at, send them our way. Yes. I think tap dancing would help with slapping.
Oh my gosh.
I can't wait for this to happen.
That's incredible.
I wish we could just put a photo up of Sing. His camera's not working, you guys.
So he is in the waiting room.
He
Should I
is.
just bring him on with no
Yeah.
camera?
Yeah.
Oh, James. No comment. Just $2.
Next week. How fun is this going to be?
Yeah, so Tara's going to tap dance, and we're going to dance on over to our guest who is here. He will not be seen, but he can certainly be heard. The new head coach for the Cal Bears, Steve Singleton. Hi, Coach. Welcome in. How are you?
Good. How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
Oh, I can hear him. I just can't see him. Sing, we're just so happy to have you on here today. First and foremost, congratulations on the new gig. I know everybody just wants to hear all kinds of things from the new Cal head coach, but from me, I just want to know what went behind this decision and how excited are you to get going with Cal softball?
Yeah, it was just the perfect fit. I think the timing, it worked out. Thanks to Jay Larson and Jenny Simons O'Neill, the ADs there, Gordon Bain and Josh Hummel, associate ADs. They really worked with me and kind of made this thing work. And they saw the value in bringing me back home. Knew that pulled at me quite a bit. And that I had for the program and kind of the investment that they're in the program. There's going to be a brand new fall. You're in a great recruiting hotbed. You've got a great winning tradition out there, and I think that they're investing in bringing that back. And so we're really excited about getting out there. I'm working on my staff as we speak. And just trying to get ourselves set up to have success going forward. And we see this as a championship program on the West Coast.
Coach, why did it seem like now was the time? Because your name has been in the mix for a lot of different jobs over the years, but why did now seem like the moment? Why specifically did this seem like the perfect time for you to kind of go off on this venture and become a head coach, especially back at your home area out west?
Yeah, I think that, just when I got to speak to the administration at Cal and our visions just seemed to align, and I could feel the support that they were pouring into softball, not just from them, but the community, the alumni, and I think the home piece has always had a huge pull to me. I don't talk about that piece too much. I'm Mr. Texas, and I'm all in. I'm all hook 'em. It had been my whole time down here, and but I feel about the Bay Area and California as strongly as I feel about anywhere in the world. And that's the place that created me, and a lot of those people and connections are still right there. And so there's a ton of support getting back out there, and I just think there's a lot of buzz around it right now. I think the place is, in a spot where we can take forward here with what they are investing into the program. A fun new challenge. There's obviously a ton of great teams in that conference, so it's going to be fun to try to hop into that mix and fight for the power struggle there over the next few years. And I think that they're giving time to do it right. It feels like they're supporting us building this program. It doesn't have to be a flash in the pan. So I want to build it the same way that I want to start on that journey at Cal and see if we can bring another former power back to prominence.
And you spoke about West Coast softball. I know there's a lot that you're probably having to deal with right now, and this was a really quick transition for you as we start heading into the fall. And September 1st is right around the corner. What are you focusing on as in the next couple of weeks here? Obviously, switching your hats and being at Texas and as an assistant and now heading over to Cal. What is your focus right now in terms of recruiting and really rebuilding a roster that we know has been somewhat depleted? And what are your focuses?
Yeah, there's quite a bit. We're drinking through a fire hose right now, but it's all good. So I would say that Yeah. I've got to get to know our 26 group, so I'll do that over the next, month and then obviously into the fall before signing day. So there may be additions there if we see necessary. Then obviously the 27 class that we're going to start working on, and I feel like we're on level footing, just given my reputation and some of the stuff we'll be able to sell there to kids, especially the California kids. I think that there's a lot of attractive things going on there. So I think a strong 26 and a strong 27 group is gonna put us in good shape. I think there's some current pieces on the roster right now that are gonna surprise some people. So we do have some present talent there and some kids that I think are eager to get in there and get developed and get to work. And so I think we're going to surprise ourselves with some of the present pieces right now. There's not a whole lot of expected of us for this year, and I kind of like that. And you add a couple classes to that in the next 2 years and throw a portal kid in here or there, and before you know it, you have a whole new look team that's kind of poised to do what we're leading them to do. So I think the build is going to be it's going to be challenging, but it's going to be fun, and I think it's very doable.
Coach, one of the delights for me at the World Series this year was getting to sit next to your wife, Chelsea, and your kids and watch as they celebrated your Texas squad beating Oklahoma in Oklahoma City. They obviously love you. They're very, very supportive of the Longhorns and very, very supportive of you. How have their support kind of helped you along this process as you've accepted this job and now prepared to move out west?
It's been instrumental. I mean, that it doesn't happen without that. And my wife is great. She supports anything that we're going to do in this journey. She's been definitely a rock in this relationship, as it's coaching's all over the place. She's a great connector and knows as many people, probably more people than I know in the game. So that's been huge, and she loves it out there, and she's all in. My sons, they're excited. I was just actually meeting with someone here Texas. I'm kind of getting out of here and transitioning, and I showed her a text from my older son where just unprompted yesterday, just texted me that he's so excited and just had to take this. It's an amazing opportunity for us and the family, and he's excited, and so is my younger son to be back out where we have a lot of family as well. So they now have they now have people in both places, and I think it's an exciting time for all of us.
I mean, family is a huge part of that, saying it, and I know how important that is to you. I want to switch gears here a little bit just to give some people an idea of what that new stadium is going to look like. And Cal, what are the updates? I know that you've had numerous conversations with the administration, and what that new stadium is going to be like, because it's a big deal for Cal softball to be getting a new stadium. It's, I've been able to play in that stadium before, and it's time for an upgrade. That was 20 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, and I had never seen the old one, and so I've heard that same sentiment from a lot of people, but it's going to be amazing. I mean, there if you go to Instagram under Cal softball, you can see the renderings up there, and so ground was broken couple months back, and there's boots on ground, and they're moving, and it's working. So it looks like it's a fall November of 2026 kind of open date, and so we're expecting that, or a month or two around that. It's going to be it's all seat backs. You got two bullpens. You got big net and left trying to protect the canyon and the road out there. A nice huge video board. Just a really cool press box and suite design up top, and then just all the amenities down under for our student athletes. They're going to have their spaces that we'll define those kind of as we go, and that was a nice attractive piece of this too, is that it wasn't set in stone. There's a lot of open area that's kind of going to be up for discussion. So we'll try to plan that out as we see best fit. But there are definitely, thoughts about what was done here at Texas and how that flowed and flowed well, and how our team responded to that. So trying to bring some of that same, ideology and maybe design into how the flow of this works, and maybe make some upgrades and updates to that and adjustments. But huge, I think somewhere around a 2,000 or 2,500 square foot indoor with cages and turf and area to raise up and practice. So, it'll get wet in the Bay Area at times. So we'll have our own area that's not a multi sort of use facility, just our own facility that we can do indoor work with. But yeah, it should be missing no bells and whistles. So I think it's going to be a fun place to play at. It's going to be a fun place to watch a game, and we can't wait to call it home.
Coach, I'm going to spin it back a little bit to something that you mentioned earlier. You said you were working on putting together your staff. How does that process work? Have you always kind of had some folks that you were thinking about, and are there qualities that you're specifically looking for as you try and build the people around you at Cal?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of people I've had in mind, and that list has grown over the years and making more connections. And then you get to the point where it's, what's the job type, what's the region, you know, what's the amount I have to pay people, and make their lives work for them too. So I've had to work through that process. I've landed on a couple that I don't want to spoil it for them. So, but we're pretty excited about them, and then working on one last one, and hopefully hear something today actually. But I have a couple calls out to some really really quality people, and so I think it's exciting. There's going to be some new faces there, and a lot of buzz, and I'm excited to get us out in the community out there, get us out in California, get us out around the country. This fall will be fun to kind of see us, a new staff out there in the mix, rocking the navy and gold. So it's gonna be a blast.
I want to ask also about the schedule. Because it's always interesting talking to first-year head coaches, and they roll in and they look at the schedule and go, "Huh, okay." Was there anything like that when you saw what's on the slate for 26, or are you still trying to fill some stuff out that maybe wasn't filled?
Still trying to fill a few things out, but it's pretty well built. I give the interim coach Jen Deering a lot of credit. Like, they've done a good job keeping this program moving during this search, and that's not an easy thing to do. But they've kept things in a really, really good place. So yeah, I think as of right now, there's between like 50 and 52 games scheduled out, and the ACC obviously is built in. We've got a bye week built in at a great opponent. We will be in the Mary Nutter, so I think we announced that. And from what I know, we're in the Judy Garment, as long as they don't change that on me. So I'll have to reach out to some people there to confirm those things. So we have some good weekends in, and there should be some pretty stiff competition. So we'll see. Hopefully we're ready for that by that point, and I think we will be. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be really fun to get to work, compete with this new team. We have no field this year, so we're gonna get real close. We're gonna, we're all gonna be bonded together, kind of going through this tough journey where we're road warriors together. So I think it's gonna be great for the program.
Yeah, well, this was my last question, and that was a perfect segue into it. Without a field, what is that going to look like? Are you going to just be on the road the entire time? Is there something that you're going to use local within Berkeley? Have you figured that out yet?
I don't have all the exacts on that. I do know that the admin has been working hard on securing places. I've heard of a couple D1 options that are in the area that would be used for some home contests, especially when it comes to ACC, but the rest of it would all be on the road. So we would, I don't think we're going to try to use somebody's facility to just call something a home game on a non-conference weekend or something. So we'll be out pretty often, but the schedule's great. We'll be on the West Coast for a good chunk of it, and then obviously making our trips in the ACC as well. We'll have 4 of those in the ACC tournament. So we'll head east 5 times, and we'll be on the West Coast for the rest of it. And I kind of see that formula working for us going forward, just staying strong out on the West Coast and, playing our conference series out that way, but trying to really reestablish our footprint out there.
Well, Coach, I can certainly hear how excited you are about this. I know that this is going to be quite the adventure for you and your family, and especially year one, trying to figure out where the heck you're going to play at times. But the future is definitely bright at Cal, and we're so thrilled that you got to come on the show and talk a little bit about taking this job. Congratulations, and thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Awesome. Thank you both. I really appreciate you guys having me, and go Bears.
Thank you, Coach. Steve Singleton joining us on the show. Thank you, Coach. That was fun. It's amazing how many times I've chatted with him since I met him in May. But he's always been super open, and we're glad he came on this morning.
Yeah, I know that there was a lot going on in his world right now, and so just appreciate Coach Singh jumping on here just to really give some insight. And I love what he's got to say. And as a West Coaster, I think it's great that, he's bringing some of that back to the West Coast, because we hear a ton about the SEC, we hear a ton about the South, and you got him going up back to where he's from and is very familiar with Berkeley. For him to go up there and really start leading that program, they're going to be a fun program to watch.
Yeah, and I've got two things I want to say, and then we can wrap this episode. One, I loved what he said about his son and the text that he sent, because this is, look, their kids are kind of at that age where they're entrenched in where they are. Like, we were all, I was that age too. And school's starting. I don't know what it's like in Austin right now, but Tuscaloosa school starts tomorrow as we record. So for them to be so excited and so eager about this and so behind their dad, I thought was really, really special. That's not something that a lot of kids just feel naturally, and that shows the relationship that family has, the way that Coach Singleton and Chelsea have kind of raised those boys. That was a special thing that he shared. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and I know how big that is, and part of the decision, obviously, like he spoke about it, of going out west, and I know that was a big part of it, and family is so important. So, I mean, I started tearing up when he was telling me about that text message from his son. Yeah. That's so important, and something that I'm sure that he just needed to hear as well. But yes, we will close the show with some tap dancing. Next.
Well, the last thing I'll say, last thing, because we talked about this last week, that ACC void in the 4 or 5 spot every year. Like, we all, at this point, we're of the mind, right? Florida State, Clemson, and Duke will always be in the mix up near the top of the standings in the ACC. But then kind of who can take that 4th and 5th spot? Is it Virginia Tech? Is it Stanford? We've seen, Notre Dame in past years, not really this last year, but Georgia Tech, maybe North Carolina. We talked about them in the last show. I think maybe not, if not this year, certainly in the future, Cal can not only take that spot every year, give or take, but consistently, if Coach Singleton is able to pull this off and kind of build the program the way he wants, with essentially a new foundation being laid.
Absolutely. And I think, the key is that travel, that cross-country travel. And I think scheduling and what teams they'll be playing each year is going to obviously factor into that. But I agree with you, Gray. I think the ACC would be up for grabs in the next 2-3 years with him at the helm and his ability, like I said, to recruit and develop talent.
Yeah. All right. Plans are in motion.
Are you watching the chat?
I am. First off, yes, Jen will be invited to appear on the Obstruction Show. And she already told me like a month ago, I believe the text was, I'd better be on the Obstruction Show. So Jen, the ball's in your court. It'll be next week, either Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on the schedule. And we'll hopefully have some more guests pop in
Savior
as well.
I love it. Yes. I will go audio only for the tap dancing.
I kind of I love seeing their faces, but that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
We've never really had a call-in segment.
We did. Remember Amanda when she was on the
Oh, yeah. 95? She was on the highway, and we had her little icon.
Yes, we had Amanda. That's the only other time we've had audio. It actually works out really well. But for the tap dancing, we'll have to set the challenge for next week. But I got to get some tap shoes. I think they're in California. I got to call Mary Henry.
Mary?
I'll
hit up UPS. Let's FedEx that across. We don't have to overnight it. We have a week.
I mean, I'm sure I could get some tap shoes on Amazon if this really happens. If the challenge is completed next week, then I'll tap dance the following show.
She'll tap dance on the Strike Zone episode. I love it.
Absolutely.
All right, that's all I got. You good?
I'm good. Thank you guys for being here. Just really, I love that you guys can join us even in the off season for some talk on softball. And hopefully you're enjoying the rules segment. Next week we'll go over obstruction, and that'll be a fun one. It'll be quite controversial. We'll try and get some video.
Yeah, I think that's the play as well. We'll get some
video. Look,
I think we have to pull the Texas OU clip from 2 years ago.
We can pull that, and then maybe I can get Marty on here. Apposition. We can get an umpire on here. Would you guys like if we had an umpire on?
Marty, yeah, I think Marty he might be busy, but I hope he can come on. I don't know.
I'll ask him.
His schedule gets wild.
I know. Off season. LOL. Brady. Video clips.
Yeah, I think that's all
You got
good.
it.
Thank you to everybody in the chat for coming and saying hi and joining all the fun.
Yeah, and head on over to the site. We've got a lot of good stuff up on the site. We're taking a look at, obviously, we have the transfer portal rankings. We've got some recruiting spotlights, and we're going to have those 2027 recruiting rankings up on the site shortly. Brady and I will give you that date as soon as we have it. And today we're looking at Oklahoma State. Brady does a deep dive into Oklahoma State. And I also liked the one incoming freshman from every SEC team to know. So check both of those out. And we've got AUSL coverage, recruiting coverage, and we will have, is Brady in the chat still? When is the top 15 teams? We're doing a top 15 18 and under teams.
Ooh. Hey, this is a message for Brady through our podcast. I'm on number 23 of my way too early top 25. So the paragraphs are coming and it's almost ready to be published. Okay. I'll have that to you today or tomorrow. So check the site soon for that. You can compare Brady's to mine.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you to Steve Singleton for joining the show. This is insane. Really? That's what we're doing? FSU going to beat Bama soccer on Friday. And then in football, August 30th. That I will tap dance on the pod if Florida State football beats Alabama on August 30th. That's not happening. So just saying that I just issued my own challenge. I don't even need a super chat. I will tap dance if Florida State beats Alabama in football on August 30th.
Okay, that's great. I'll send you some tap dancing shoes. You can borrow mine.
Do they have? Are you a size 13? That's
5.5.
Actually, the real challenge is me putting on Tara's shoes.
The rankings, the 18 and under team rankings, final rankings for the year will be out next Monday. Oh gosh, we got off the rails. We were supposed to do 40 minutes. Look at us.
I know. Well,
I mean, not talk.
Some of it was not. You know, technology does not always agree with our time constraints.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Tara, you're the best. Next week is obstruction. That's right. The fireworks will be a-goin'. We'll see you then. For Tara Henry, I'm Gray Robertson. Thanks for joining us, and good morning, Softball America. We will catch you next week for the obstruction episode.